Hi, today I'll be teaching you how to do the purl knit stitch for hats on looms. So what you need for this tutorial is going to be a loom, and this is a Preemie baby size, so it's going to make hats about this size, so it's really tiny hats. And for that, I'm donating a lot of them. But if you want to make a bigger hat like this, you're going to need to buy a much bigger loom. And you can buy that at any craft store like Joann's or Michael's. You'll also need some yarn. I get the thicker type because it's more soft and I think it's better for hats. You'll also need a needle and scissors and a ruler or any measuring thing. So for the tutorial, we're going to be doing a purl knit stitch hat, just like this one, basically identical to it. It's all purl knit. But you can also do hats with different patterns, so you can do a combination of purl knit and normal knit. So these two are examples of them. So this one has 3 purl stitch rows and the rest is regular. And this one just has 1 purl and the rest regular. And how you do that is you just choose which rows you want to do purl and which rows you want to do normal. So that's super easy. So you can do it however you want. And then at the end of the video, I'll teach you how to do this, which is vertical stripes of the purl and normal, which is also simple, but I'll go over that. So let's get started. So before I begin, I made a small little knot right here on this peg, and that's just to keep it secure before we start. So you're going to take your yarn and then starting on this very first peg, do just 1 loop around, and then I go to the right and go around the whole loom. So you're going to do that going around the whole entire loom. So now that we're here, and we have this all around and all of the loops are to the top of each peg, we're going to start doing the stitching. So we're going to do the stitch peg by peg around the whole entire loom. So how you do it is you take your needle, you go under the loom that we made, and then get the working yarn underneath it and bring it through. So now we made this new little loop, and so what you're going to do is go under the thing, under our existing loop, our old loop, and bring it over the peg like that. And then you're going to take this little new loop that we made, put it over forward onto the peg, and then tighten it like that. So you're going to do that around the whole thing. So I'm going to show you again. So you go under the loop on the peg, go get the working yarn, bring it through. You have a new loop, and then you can either pick it up with your hand and bring it over the peg or use the needle, and then take the new loop, put it onto the peg, and tighten the yarn with this long piece of yarn. So one more time, go under the loop on the peg, get the working yarn, pull it through, make a loop. It's kind of too big, sorry. And then you go under it to put the whole thing over, but you still have this loop. So then you put it onto the peg and tighten it. And so now I'm going to do that around the whole entire loop. Okay, so now I've done 1 whole loop around the whole entire loom of the purl stitch. And so now what you're going to do is just continue those couple steps for the whole hat. So you don't have to do the whole hat like this, just doing the purl stitch. I'm going to do that, but you could also do a couple rows of purl stitch and then a couple rows of normal. You can really make it however you want, but I'm going to do all purl stitch. So I'm going to show you another example, show you again how to do the purl stitch, just to make sure you get it. So you're going to go under that existing loop you have on the peg. You're going to get the working yarn, and then you're going to make this tiny little loop. So bring it over the peg. So now nothing's on the peg, but you're going to take this little loop, put it on the loop, and then pull that yarn. Again, under the loop, over that working yarn and bring it through. Make a small little loop, bring the whole thing over, take the small little loop, put it onto the peg, and tighten it. And so I'm gonna do this for my whole hat, but you can pick how you want to make your design. Once you have done 3 rows of the stitches, you can take off this little slip knot at the end and then just tuck it in down there. And then at the end, I'll tell you what to do with it. So I measured the hat and I have about 3 inches, and this is the right amount if you're gonna make a preemie baby hat, which is what I'm doing right now. But if you're gonna make an adult hat, you're gonna have to make it much larger. But to start taking it off, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna kind of start how you do the purl stitch. So you're gonna go, I'm gonna move all of them up to the top. And then so it's kind of like every other peg. So first you're gonna go on this first peg right in front of the very first one. And you're gonna go under the loop and take the working yarn and bring it up just like the purl stitch. But this time when you take it off, you're not gonna put this loop onto this peg. You're gonna put that loop onto the peg next to it like that, and then tighten it. And then what you're gonna do is, see how there's 2 pieces now? So you're gonna take the bottom one and put it over the top. So now how we're gonna do this around the whole entire loom is gonna be every other one. So we're gonna do it again. So we're gonna go under the first loop, take the working yarn, bring it up, and then you're gonna bring it over. And then this one, the loop, you're gonna put to the side, like that. And then just tighten it, and then take the bottom and bring it over the top, like that. So now, one more time, you're gonna go under that first loop, take the working yarn, make a small loop, take the whole thing off, put the new loop onto the peg right next to it, to the right of it, tighten it a little bit, and then get that. I actually try bringing this over a little bit when I do this, and then take the bottom and bring it over. Like that. And so you're gonna continue doing this around the whole loom. Now that I've done it for every other peg, and also the every other peg thing helps to make it when the hat comes together, at the top it's not as big, and it kind of looks nicer. So now what we're gonna do is take your yarn and just wrap it around the whole loom. Oops. Wrap it around the whole loom till it gets to the center again. Get some scissors and then just cut it. I do a little bit over the full length just to make sure I have enough. And now you're gonna take your needle, and I'll start on this one. And so what you do is, this is basically ending the hat normally. So you're gonna go under the loop on the peg, take the working yarn, bring it through, and then you bring it all the way through. And so you're gonna do this for all the pegs. So through, under the loop on the peg, take the working yarn with your needle and bring it through. So I'm gonna go and do the whole loop. And you can see that the yarn right here is starting to get shorter. So what you can do is you can start taking them off the pegs. So I'm gonna take them off, take off all the ones I've done. Except these 2. So make sure you always have at least 2 on. And now since these are off, I can tighten the string. So then it gives me more. And make sure you don't tighten it too much. So, yeah. So once I do 2 more, I can take off these 2 at the end, and then do 2 more and take off 2. Now that we're at the last 2, we're going to finish it off and then take off all 4. So now it's kind of like a cylinder-ish. And so what you're going to do is take the string and you're just going to pull it as tight as you can until it meets the center. And so this is going to be the underside of the hat. So when you flip it around, this is what the hat's going to look like. So now go back, turn it inside out, and right here, what I usually do is just tie a double knot, just a simple double knot, and try to get it to the bottom so it won't unravel. So I have a knot right there now, 2 knots actually. And so I'm also gonna cut the string, keep a little bit, but about like right there, and just snip it off. And then you can turn it back inside out, or right side. And so this is the hat. And so this is the first yarn from when we made the slip knot on the loom right here. So how to hide it, you can either cut it a little bit, which I'm gonna get mine a little shorter. And then with the rest of it, you can just loop it in with the rest of the yarn. So this kind of tries to hide it. So I do is just go on the rim and like beat it through. So it stays hidden. It's like that. So that is the finished hat tutorial. I'm gonna show you how to do a hat with like a striped vertically with the same color. So here's the hat. I've done some of it already. And so as you can see that the stripes are going down vertically. So this is the normal stitch that I showed in my previous video. And then, so I have 4 of those and then just 2 of the purl stitch. So how you do this is, well, what I did was I marked certain pegs with nail polish, and this helps so then when I'm doing the hat, I can follow which one should be the normal stitch, which one should be the purl stitch. So I have my pained ones for my normal, my non-pained for the purl. And so when I do it, I can follow so I won't get off track. You could also use like rubber bands or charms, or you could just do nothing and just follow along yourself. So how you do this is you just basically do the purl stitch and the normal stitch. So for these 4, I'm gonna do the normal stitch. And also you can do however many however many columns of the different stitches. I just chose 4 and 2, but you can do whatever you want. So I'm gonna start with the normal stitch. So wrap around the pegs. So wrap around 4 and then keep it right here. And then what I do is I do this one first so it can keep it secure. And then I go backwards doing the 4. Then these is the purl. So I just do 2 purl. So how I showed you, you go under the loop, get the working yarn, make a new loop, take it over, put the new loop on, then tighten it. Again, under the loop, taking the working yarn, make a new loop, put it over and put the new loop onto the peg and tighten. So now it's the 4 normal. So you're gonna continue doing this around the loop, the loom, however many times. And I suggest for this size hats, you go about 8 to 9 inches. That would be, or however much you want where it fits you nicely. And then how you end it is just like I did in the previous hat.